The focus for today is like to talk about how we can like look at how special product teams they use n8n and to ship faster. So this could be around starting off projects and also like sort of doing experimentations and also PM sort of working with the engineering team. So that's the main sort of the angle that we're looking at today. So my background is in machine learning. Been doing it for the last 12 plus years. Done a PhD, done a postdoc in the space, and then moved on to be head of AI engineering at a financial services firm based out of London. And apart from that, I do an AI consultancy firm that sort of build end-to-end AI solutions called Snapdrum. We focus. The agenda for today is like it's going to be about like talk about what is n8n and where sort of n8n fits in the product workflow. Uh, and I think like this will definitely talk about what Tori mentioned about like how sort of we use these n8n to internal workflows. And we'll talk about high leverage use cases and also how to avoid product debt when you use n8n. And then how to collaborate with engineers if you're a PM that you use n8n. And then and how to sort of safely deploy n8n and how do you iterate n8n maybe even as a production setting or sort of moving on from n8n deployment to an actual sort of general sort of a software stack. And at the end, I'll show a quick demo on a multi-agent system that I built using n8n to give you some inspiration and also do a quick introduction to the system. Yeah. So first of all, I want to introduce like what n8n is. Tori, I'm sure you already know this, so bear with me. So n8n is like a tool very similar to Zapier, Make, which are these automation tools that are quite popular. But n8n sort of came with a different angle. They came with this open source model where they provided the opportunity for anyone to go and host their platform on, as you mentioned, on Ubuntu server or any kind of a server that you can host it separately with the right kind of data control, privacy control, so that you can sort of like obviously get away with like the cost and also from a security point of view, it's amazing. And it's also has this visual drag and drop feature, so you can very easily wire things up. So if you have non-technical, you don't have to worry about it. There's option to like add scripts like Python scripts and JavaScript, etc. But 99% of the time, you don't have to worry about code. Maybe understand a little bit of JSON, but you can use something like ChatGPT or Claude Code to sort of like brainstorm and figure out like how to actually fix those specific points in your workflow. And you'll have like 400 plus, probably 500 plus integrations out of the box. And majority of these are AI related tooling like models like vector databases and automations and architectures themselves. You can find them within n8n. So that's amazing for anyone who wants to do AI and automation without doing much of coding. And if you compare between Zapier and or Zapier or n8n. Generally, Zapier is like slightly complex compared to n8n. And also, you can't self-host, and you're sort of like tied to that platform to a certain extent. And when it comes to debugging as well, it's not the most helpful. But when it comes to n8n, it gives you full control of your sort of workflows. You can sort of either have it on your own infra, or you can sort of run it on their own cloud services. But it gives you this ability to like go through all the executions really well in detail, like in each node, what sort of information can pass from one node to another. So you can see if there's issues, you can sort of debug them super fast. But also, if you need to run some sort of a Python or JavaScript code, you can run it as a node, and that also helps you to have the flexibility between being low code and no code, and like do really sophisticated systems. So that's the quick overview of n8n. And at the end, I'll show what the system looks like. Um, let's take a step back and think about like why should product teams care about this? Like the current workflow, unless you are using something like n8n, is that there's a product person who sort of like look at set of data sets that coming from some sort of form and then some in a database. And looking at that information, you create some sort of a update. So you write a ticket for a feature that you need to get something done, and you wait for a 2 week sprint from your engineering team to get this built. And also you need to prioritize that. So that could be, yeah, I think like it's an opportunity missed, not to mention the financial losses that would cause to the company. But with n8n, it is a tool that empowers anyone so that they can quickly build these kind of workflows without the hassle of the getting the time from the engineering team, because their time is relatively limited because they might be working on something high priority, sort of fixing something that has broken down. So especially with experimentations and new ideas, n8n workflows are quite helpful, and so that PMs can build these workflows and test it real data, and then they can ship it. Especially internally, you can ship it and get tested, especially internal workflows. So it's quite amazing tool that you can get things super fast. We personally use this within our sort of consultancy firm, like to handle leads, to do follow-ups. Even on May, when we have built these automations, that helps us to sort of keep track of who sort of joins these sessions. Um, and then, like, if you think about from where this fits in your workflow, um, we can think about from like three angles. Then you have the engineering team that focuses on the core product, and there's the product operations, ops side of things, day-to-day work, and there's the experimentation side that sort of sits in between sort of the engineering team and the product team. However, with n8n, you can sort of handle both product ops and also experimentation. I mean, I've seen companies do the entire core product with n8n as well, but I think that's a uh, preference of the team. To the extent that you want to push the n8n sort of like the scope. But guaranteed for sure, you can run these product ops, things like onboarding sequences, internal alerts and reporting, feedback routing, all sort of product ops. You can run on n8n. And then for experimentation, if you need to test a new feature, and if you need to do a prototype very quickly, like a validation run, you can easily do it in n8n, especially because you can connect multiple models, write prompt yourself, and then connect the data sources and get something working. Where the core product, especially the new features, anything to do with like authentication, data models, the core business logic relatively sits within engineering side, but you can experiment with n8n and slowly move those features to the core product. So that's like a relatively like a good synergy that you can find between the PM side and the engineering side when using n8n. So yeah, I mean, and that's where I see n8n fits in really well. Um, but I want to like look at from a business point of view, like what are the high leverage use cases when it comes to n8n. So I'm going to talk about like four sectors. I mean, these are not the only four, but like there could be many other, especially onboarding flows. Where somebody sort of like join some sort of email list, one of you or some sort of landing pages, and then you can sort of trigger alerts to handle rest of the nurturing process if need be. All of this, if you don't have this already, you can write these with n8n, connecting email sequences, sort of doing research about the leads, etc. So you can sort of do all of this. And second one is like internal tools, because Slack n8n provide these like really good integrations with Slack, Notion, Google Sheet, etc. Like things like even Monday.com. So you can connect all of these together and utilize things like LLMs and write AI agents that can sort of automatically or on schedule sort of handle these internal processes. It's quite helpful if you don't have like a system that can automatically do this, especially small business owners or teams that don't have a lot of engineering firepower. Definitely, this is like a lifesaver. Um, Third point is like feedback loops. I think this is like quite important, especially to figure out like when there's churn, and if you need to gather certain feedback from your product, etc. So you can sort of create specific custom workflows using n8n. And the fourth being ops automation, like for example, if you're a CEO, some C-suite person who definitely need to understand how things are operating in the business, you can have these like automated evaluations to get the analytics that you need, reports that you need, everything with n8n. So there are so many ways you can use n8n, because in the past you probably need to get a different tool, or get some sort of a system in place. With n8n, anybody can build these tools super fast. Um, um, I think the best practice, I think, like, is that the the reduction of product debt, because in the past, like, it's like you have to actually build something to get feedback. So this is a very quick way that you can get sort of users feedback in a way that without building too much. So especially quite helpful if you have very expensive engineering teams, and you can sort of do sort of quick fixes. You can do like experimentations and everything using n8n, where compared to a massive build using the engineering team. But it's quite important that even if you do like a quick fix, make sure to like port that to the actual code base, so that you won't be sort of managing like a n8n workflow without having the right team to manage that. So that's like a caveat here, but I think generally it's quite helpful to help product teams and founders to build a lot of things within n8n. Um, I think this is a really interesting point. If you are a PM, this will like resonate with you a lot. In the past, how PMs operate is that like you write a spec, understanding the feature or the new product, and then you talk to the engineering team, they interpret that, and they come up with a sort of like a sprint set of tickets, and then go and implement that. So this may or may not get the exact expectation from the PM, from the engineering team, but there'll be sort of back and forth, and but you'll get it done. But this takes a bit of time. Generally, if you plan for like 2 months, it might take 3 months because there's like user acceptance, etc. But with n8n, what sort of unlocks is that the PM himself themselves can build the workflow and go to the engineering team with a working product. So the the margin for wrong interpretation is super low. So because of that, the back and forth between the teams gonna get reduced, and then you actually discuss pros and cons of the system, looking at actual system. So engineers need to like sort of scale this up, use the best coding practices, and sort of integrate that system well into the existing system. And that's all. Otherwise, there's a lot of ambiguity sort of flying around that could sort of extend the project sort of the length. It's like a really cool way of sort of like cutting that time down. Apart from n8n, things like Laravel also helps with this. It's like a sort of the prompting tool that helps you build full stack applications, and it's super helpful for engineers to try and PMs to build super fast workable prototypes, so that engineering team wouldn't sort of misunderstand it. Um, so the next sort of the slide is about like the safety side of things. So we spoke about um, like using an n8n. This is like how we can sort of iteratively improve when it comes to building something with n8n. So first one is like, rather than triggering adding automated triggers, you start with manual triggers like chat nodes. You'll add some sort of a webhook that you can trigger from some endpoint, and test with actual data to see if this is working properly. And when you run through different scenarios, you need to check your execution logs to make sure things are working fine. If something breaks, the reason for it, and try and fix that. And it's also important that you version the workflows, because if something goes wrong, you should be able to revert back. So n8n provides some level of versioning, but ideally you should like version it outside on Git as well. Um, and and the other part is like sort of like gradually sort of iterate gradually. So where you sort of like start with a manual trigger, then you start with a schedule trigger on time, and then you have a webhook that again connect to a specific application and can get triggered automatically. And the final point is like setup error handling. So n8n provides different ways you can sort of send information, Slack notifications, emails, SMS, whatever you prefer. I mean, for example, you can take like a Slack integration where you sort of connect your Slack um, to n8n workflow. If something fails, you get an alert, and then you can go and fix that. So this is quite important. So this is like coming from engineering practices where you not just write good build software, you also sort of plan for failure. If something fails, can I know that super fast so that I can fix that? So this is quite important if you're using n8n. So I'm gonna like talk about like a system that I built. So this is the exact um, sort of example that I'm going to talk about, but I'll show that using one of the example um, n8n workflows that I built so that we can explain what n8n looks like as well. Um, so what this does is like this is a multi-agent system that has not just one agent, but also like three agents. So there's an orchestrator agent that sort of control um, the 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 logic of communicating with other agents, and when some request comes from the chat node, which is this one, this orchestrator node decide, okay, what should I do? Should I do some deep research? Should I sort of like use the existing knowledge base, or should I go and save this information on a Google Sheet? So what this does is like if we ask it to do some research about a specific person, it will do check its own chat model to see OpenAI has that information, and then go and do deep research, go and do web search into detail, and figure out if there's information about this person and pull that information. And after that, it will structure this output so that it can be sent to a Google Sheet, and that information get passed to a Google Sheet, and it will store in the specific Google Sheet, like with the name, LinkedIn, if there's a LinkedIn, and description. And you also have a simple memory component. What this means is like this can sort of remember the conversation that you're having with the agent. Otherwise, you can't do sort of this sequential conversation where you sort of the agent remembering the previous conversation. So that's the value of adding memory. I'll show a quick sort of demo how this works. Um, if I say like I'll talk about a famous person, say Elon Musk. So if I ask about this, generally the person is well known. So I think and yeah, it sort of do a deep research and then go and save that in the Google Sheet. Um, so we can sort of talk about like um, someone like, so it's doing some research, doing some deep research, and pull that information from the agent, and this agent will supposedly save that in the Google Sheet. So this is quite simple. I know that like the real workflows can be quite complex, but this is where you can start from, sort of creating multiple agents so that each agent would sort of be responsible for a specific sort of a use case, and this agent would sort of control sort of um, doing writes to the database, which is the Google Sheet, and this agent will handle like the deep research component. Um, and so all of these executions are logged. So and you can see where each agent was called, and when the append happened to the Google Sheet, what was sent to the OpenAI model, and what was the result that you got, like the simple memory upload. All of these information are sort of visible, so you can debug if something fails. And you can go to executions. You can see all of this information here. So that's the value of n8n sort of logs. And because I've already built, I want to like show like some other features on n8n. So this is what the n8n canvas looks like. and this allows you to build these workflows sort of using this plus button. So you can go and pick and choose different components and add them and sort of combine them in a logical manner, and then you can get the workflows created. Generally, what you do is that you start with a trigger node. This trigger node is the way that this workflow gets started. Either you can trigger it manually, or you can do it on an app event, on schedule, on a webhook call, when form submission happens. So things like that. So multiple ways you can start. I think we've used on chat message node because it's relatively easy to test within the Canvas workflow because you have this chat interface and you can chat with this agent here and you can still do iterate. So because that's super easy. And then you have like quite a lot of AI features. You can get an AI agent, you can get AI models, sort of do specific work like sentiment analysis to summarization, text classification, all sort of things like you can find like pre-built nodes, and you just have to connect them and it will be in your workflow. So even if you don't have a background in these domains, it's fine. You can do a lot more with these nodes that are already being built for you. And You can easily publish this and sort of share this URL and connect that to an existing website, and it will works quite fine. So you just need to make sure you're on some sort of a subscription to handle the requests that are coming from externally. Similarly, you can run this locally and on your own computer, and then run this and test this. But you can't necessarily expose that, but you can sort of experiment without a cost in your local environment and to see like how to see n8n works. And after that, you can sort of push that to actual cloud environment and get that sort of working. Yeah, I think I want to like sort of pause here and see if there are specific questions from the group. And Feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question or just use the chat as well. And yeah, so I think like so this question I asked like summarize the information. So it been pushed to the Google Sheet. Generally, we can adjust the prompt to push almost all of this information. But right now it's set in a way to add a summary of this to the Google Sheet. But yeah, that's the general workflow, and not just famous people. You can try like people that are not known, like who are could be possible your leads and stuff. And if you add them, you do the deep research and get that information to your sort of lead list on your Google Sheet. So that's the sort of the quick overview about n8n and how to build multi-agent systems on n8n. Do connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you guys have any questions, I'll send link very quickly. Yeah, so drop a message if there's any questions. Happy to help. Yeah, and looking forward to keeping in touch and see you guys in the future. Thank you, Dory. Thank you.